So the best of 5 TvT is here for the finals of the European Open Cup. In the top left, it is Team Liquid's Clem, who just defeated Spirits 2-1. In the bottom right of Hard Lead, it is Shopify Rebellion's Byun, who defeated MaxPax to get here and has been waiting for quite some time. I'm able to watch that TvT while it was underway and get a feel for Clem's TvT today. But I don't know if Byun really needs it, because Byun has been on a tear against this kid. In the month of November... Wow, they've played 6 times in 1 month. That's a lot in StarCraft. I mean, there's definitely players who do that, like Byun and Hero and Dark and Yumiho. They all play so many online cups. You know, Dark versus Hero happens all the freaking time. But yeah, you know, considering they are across regions, a little surprising. But yeah, they played 6 times in the month of November. The last 4 times have all gone Byun's way. Clem has been able to get a map twice, and then no maps the next 2 times. So it was all in the Americas. We had a 4 in the Americas. They usually face each other in the Americas, because usually Byun would not be playing Europe as he is in Korea, and it's a terrible time zone and terrible ping. I don't actually know if he is in Korea. I would not be surprised if he is. Alright, so a lot of players apparently have already moved over to America, or even Europe, I guess, I don't know. To kind of like prepare to get to Atlanta. And I don't know if Byun is one of the guys, but even so, like, he'd be in America, not Europe. Thank you, Stompy J, for the 4 months. But it would not surprise me whatsoever that Byun is just playing from Korea, because every so often, Byun doesn't just play all of the normally timed cups that he can. So for his time zone, you know, 8 to midnight or something, 8 a.m. to midnight, the guy is just a beast. But he occasionally gets in the mood of streaming for European hours, which is exactly what he's doing right now, and then just playing in every single cup possible. Like, Byun is absolutely a grinder here. And there are so many StarCraft 2 players who play a fuck ton of StarCraft games, don't get me wrong, but I would say Byun definitely, when he does decide to do this, he's probably playing the most. He's certainly playing the most insane. Maybe is the better way to put it. I think he just, he's the type of player who absolutely feels that he has to play this much to be good. Whereas we even talked a little bit on the talk show about how Cyril actually doesn't play all that much, but he does a lot of studying and analyzing and thinking about it. Anywho, so Byun is a favorite as far as their most recent match history, but do consider that on the America's Open Cup, they would be playing with both bad ping. Now they are playing with a Clem advantage, straight up. So Byun playing from Korea, presumably, to Europe against a European is actually huge. When they're both on North America, depending on like West versus East, it can kind of favor one or the other a little bit, but not a whole lot. No, for this, it is huge. So Byun should be at a pretty big disadvantage for a lot of the early game TvT shenanigans. Should be. But this guy is actually the type to play on whatever server at any given time. Any emotional or physical state of being that he's in, he could be sick and he'd still do it. And so he's pretty practiced. So he's going to look better than others in the same scenario. Both players have opted for a very similar opener. Medivac with 2 Cyclones, having passed each other in the nights. They are not aware of it. Now they are. Oh, thank you. Someone finally got confirmation. So Byun is in Canada. So actually, this is still favorable for Clem as far as the micro and the ping at the very least, as he does kill 7 of Byun's SCVs, having lost none of his own. But not nearly as much as it is for Korea. Oh! Alright, so both Cyclones of Clem defensively go down, but he still has yet to lose any SCVs. Master Pair on top of the Viking that lands too. And now it just looks silly. Okay, Clem has taken the lead. 6 SCV lead. Not gonna blame the ping for this one. It is just a certain matter of where you drop and the like reinforcement line, because they both followed up a little bit differently, I believe. But that might have also been a bit of the ping, because even though he is in Canada on the Shopify boot camp, thank you, chat, which I believe is the East Coast, still ping to Europe. So many players boot camping for Atlanta. So many have already made their way over to America. It feels like it's way more than usual. But no jet lag excuses this time. Both players still producing Cyclones and Ravens. It's just the way, I guess, early TvT is going to go now. Clem, though, with a bigger army supply and a bigger economy, is looking to keep with his lead and possibly even end the game. Byun very ballsy, goes for a third CC on location, possibly realizing that he needs to take a risk. He certainly doesn't have the map control. Auto turret comes down for both players, and it's a couple more for our boy Byun, so Clem's not going to find any game over moment there, but he's about to scout the third CC, and he's going to get a quick cancel, too. He's not going to win the main base Cyclone War, but if he takes the third CC, kill the third CC, then, you know, that's totally worth it. It looks like he just thinks he can win the game, and I guess that is all fair, because apparently he will. So many Cyclones coming into the natural of Byun, and Byun does not have the same amount of units. Now at third of the supply of his opponents, getting one last Cyclone death before probably being overrun. Cyclone's not able to kill Clem's Ravens. And good lord, this is all types of weird, but it is Clem favored. 100%. Third CC finished. Clem will take game number 1. In the top left of Equilibrium, it is Team Liquid's Clem. In the top right, we have Shopify Rebellion's Byun. Shopify Rebellion apparently having a boot camp, so all their players are over in Americas right now. Canada, to be specific. Which, Canada to Atlanta is like a not even 2-hour flight, I want to say. I say Canada as if it's a very small country. Toronto to Atlanta. It's a very short flight. I used to go to Toronto all the time back in the earlier days of StarCraft. And I was flying in from BC, basically. I loved it. Oh, it was so easy. And I just love Toronto. I had so many friends there, so many good memories. Yeah, they're doing that. I haven't heard anything about Team Liquid doing the same thing, but I have just heard so many people talk about how they're already in America. Like, Kellozer is already there. Scarlet and Estrella, I believe, intended to stay in Canada and America after Home Straight Cup regardless, but they also have now left Korea for an extended period of time at the very least. I'm pretty sure Scarlet's intention is to go back, but just gonna have to find a way to do that. So I'm not sure about anyone. Just a guessing game for me now. Is Clem there? Could they both be playing on a North American server now? Now, of course, if Clem was also somewhere in North America, then that is where we would be playing this game. There is no reason to drag yourself down to drag your opponent down, I guess. So he does still have the benefit of, not better hours, the hours don't really matter, but certainly better ping. Byun, just wait for a command center first, guys. Guts! The guts! Yet again, as I was saying in the last Clem TvT, he's not really a 2-raxer. In fact, if someone is going to be a 2-raxer in this series, you would expect it to be Byun more so. But even then, the 2-racks haven't fallen a little bit out of favor in general, I suppose, anyway. A lot because of the prominence of factory expands and the inability of a 2-racks to just win the game easy peasy lemon squeezy. So that would be the big danger of a command center first, is any type of proxy racks actually. Single, double, Marauder, Reapers, Marines. But if you don't have to worry about that, then a factory expand is still kind of spicy, but the idea is that you could probably get a bunker. You could probably get a bunker and then at least defend most of your natural. Main defended by a wall. Oops, that was weird. But Clem is going for a lot of Reapers and Hellions. He doesn't know what his opponent is doing. He's not trying to get the jump on someone who's being too greedy. But he will recognize what's going on. As soon as he gets across the map, he'll go, I know what you did. And he's going to try and kill him. The Cyclone coming out as fast as it does looks like a fantastic opportunity to defend. Great, you got the thing that defends most of the time. But if it is outnumbered and outgunned and outmicroed, then it is not the end-all, be-all of the defense. And that is what I'm currently worried about. Byun's micro, top tier. You know, matches or exceeds Clem's on occasion. But ping, and then also he doesn't have as microable of units. He also does not have a wall to really fall back to, so the Cyclone does get chased down. The Marines were able to hammer away, though. and killed a lot of the units of Clem. But Clem still has more micro ability, and that is the problem. Clem does not have any more reinforcements. This will not be the end of the game, but it certainly has made up for the command center first. Byun now down to an even worker count with his opponent, who's also grabbing their orbital. So Byun still has a slight worker advantage. 2 SCVs just popped, actually. But Clem did enough damage to make up for the later command center, I would say. If the Marines weren't a part of that fight, if they were over here and the Cyclone was over here, that might have been game over. Once again, cyclones, 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 and cyclones. God, I hate that. And once again, Byun with an on-location third. Now, last game, I really do think that was a risky gamble because he knew he was behind. There's 2 reasons why you would do it. 1, you need a gamble. 2, you have map control, and he definitely didn't have map control. The third option would be you're just kind of... You're too brave for your own good, which I don't think Byun is. But this time around, this is actually quite sneaky. This is just trying to get away with something. A gold base, 3rd CC and TvT, but Clem is actually scouting. Or is he? He's not shift queued up to the gold yet. He's looking around for proxies. Looking around for other hidden bases, maybe, but he did not find the gold. Because who takes the gold, right? Who does that? This time around, Byun won't be so outgunned in the Cyclone War that he just loses. The 3rd CC, though, like, it's so vulnerable for so long. Not that a Nexus out here or a Hatchery out here won't have vulnerabilities, because it does, but I would say the difference is how the... Yes, the tempo is set. You know, when a Protoss does this versus Terran, it can be as their 2nd base, or it could be as their 3rd. But then they mostly, if not always, go with a supercharged gateway count. So they establish the dominance of the game for that particular power spike. This is a fake drop, by the way. But in TvT, you might get slightly faster to your barracks production and slightly faster to more Marines or a 2nd factory. You are set at the same tempo as your opponent. You're building the exact same thing. And so the slight boost from the gold, I don't think actually impacts the game that fast to be worth it a lot of the time. Now this is just a classic case of being out of position. Clem having no idea that Byun was running through the middle of the map and is now caught in a very awkward place where he's kind of getting us around, but not really. His tank will manage to grab a couple of shots, and that's a really important thing there. That tank was looking like it was just going to die. Ditto on the tank to the right side, but 1 tank able to get repeated shots, 2 shots of Cyclone. So that is the make or break difference. Beyond little missed macro was that was happening. Not probably accustomed to having the gold up and running at this point. But yeah, this is more to do with being found out of position, unawares of your opponent in their doings entirely than I think it is of the gold. But now, to continue with my analysis of this, like I do think at this point now the gold is absolutely 100% worth it. It is going to give him faster production, more stable economy until the adrenaline rush wears off, and he just gave himself a lead. So it's like, regardless of the gold or not, he's just in a really good position. Now it's up to Clem to hold on long enough for that gold base to run out, which it already is starting to run out of minerals. And then for him to get to a decent amount of supply to feel good enough to take a, position on the map. Is the supply there yet? I don't know, but that's the thing, is that he doesn't know. He can't see the same details that we do, so he's thinking that he's running into a very similar type of army, perhaps a little bit bigger than his, because he did lose out in the Cyclone surprise, but maybe not 20 army supply bigger. 2 medevac drops accidentally going over the gold base. Byun's army is not too far away from defending it, though. And now Clem's like, come on. Command center first into a gold base. You bastard. 6 SCVs go down, make that 7, and then the Marines have got to get out of here. Nice focus fire as one medevac of Byun will actually go down, but then the cheeky tank was there to get the revenge on the Marines, and the medevacs without the boost, thanks to the Matrix, end up going down too. So Clem mostly getting scouting with that, honestly. The 7 SCVs are not much, as Byun's 4th CC is already halfway done on location. Clem has just started his not on location, and he is now down 30 army supply. You know, I think it should be very aware that combined with the Cyclone weirdness and the gold base being unscouted and unpunished, that he is behind. And I'm a little surprised he's doing this. I guess if his tanks are siege, then it's kind of fair game. Byun's not dominating the supply that hard, question mark? I mean, kind of is, actually. Yeah, I think this is just a straight-up mistake from Clem, especially as an interference that just comes down. But Clem had no idea what his opponent army was. He had no idea how big it was. And his move out now looks ill-advised. Incredibly ill-advised. That will probably lead to the end of the game. Byun could continue with his push. He still has a Raven as well, so he's got one more interference matrix in a couple of seconds. And Clem is very desperate to get something done. Medevac almost running right into the Cyclones. Oh, it does. Oh, just tap out. Just let it go. Just drop the game. He got this one. Come on. Byun scans, checking to see if he really is that far ahead, and he really is. The Cyclone's going down. Doesn't mean nothing. Doesn't even matter. Byun jumped on top of one of 2 tanks of Clem. It's going to stop the 4th CC, if not straight up kill it. And he's only going to need half of his army to do that. The other half of the army combating the entirety of Clem's. Drop from Clem is going to get the gold base, sure, but not for very long. I mean, 12 SCVs do go down, but Byun still has his 4th up, and now he's going to overwhelm the 3rd base of Clem, and that has got to be it, right? Come on, that's got to be it. 2-2 gonna finish faster for Byun too, as if he needed more advantages. Almost doubling the army supply of his opponent. Loses his Raven, but 2 tanks might not be able to stop this. In fact, it won't. When everything combines together, when all these Marines got in the front line, it won't. They both traded out SCVs, but Byun's supply dwarfing that of Clem's. Clem is going to refuse to give up, man. He does not want to tap out early. He finally gets his 4th base on location and will even find the pocket change to make that into a planetary. He's got 2-2-1 finishing up. Ditto for Byun, so upgrades are even. Base count is not. 3rd CC did go down. But the 3rd of Byun is running out of minerals and has yet to lift. Nice thing about this overlay is you can see just how much Byun is still winning in that economy. The numbers are bigger for him. And he also gets to drop into the main base. Right on top of that production, Clem also going for a drop on top of Byun's production, but it is being caught, yeah, effectively enough. Yeah, that's enough units from Byun. GG's. Tied up 1-1 as Clem sends out an SCV. In the bottom left of Hecate, it is Clem. In the top right, it is Byun. And Clem certainly was showing more potential of 2-raxing today. Byun, he already got away with the command center first. I don't think he'll do it again, because there is... You've now revealed that is something that you are able to do. They could try and 2-rax you, especially because the 2-rax isn't even only good against a command center first, or only good versus a 1-rax expand. It can work out fine against a factory expand. So, kind of, there's almost no reason for Clem not to do this, like, almost. That's kind of an exaggeration, but you still got a couple games in your back pocket. Your opponent did just try and get 2 cheeky greeds, and you still aren't the most well-known 2-rax player. So I think this is a very good setup. There's a good reason for doing this. And regardless if Byun is actually factory expanding or 1-rax expanding or not, like it's a good idea. In this case, Byun is 1-rax expanding, and he's not SCV scouting either. So Byun not going to try command center first again, but he is still being greedy, and too greedy against someone who is going to 2-rax you. 2-rax in the most offensive position possible as well. Byun's SCV is going to scout for this exact 2-rax before slapping down the command center, so he does get the appropriately timed scout. you basically want to get it before you build your command center. So then you can swap over into building a factory, your second gas, and bunkers. It is a very, very dangerous hold that Byun still has to make after all. Usually you do still slap down that second gas. It's not going to do it. So he's going to try and hold here with the, the factory coming down as it usually would off of this opener. But then he's still going to try and fit in the command center. Okay, no, he does grab the second gas. Okay. So 2 racks from Clem has effectively deterred Byun from getting a greedier opener. But with a bunker covering the hop-up spot, and otherwise the other one's like way over here, Clem's not going to get any more damage done, other than changing Byun's build order. The command center is still going to come down. Of course, faster than Clem's. So it's not exactly the situation that Clem was hoping for. He was really hoping that he'd be able to get up into the main base and do his little fancy footwork. But the fact that it was scouted at that time means Byun could nip that in the bud. You know, Clem nipped the 1 rack's expand, but then Byun nipped his 2 racks, so... Clem concedes. Doesn't try and force the issue and still grab 4, 6, 8 Reapers, although that could always go for a backstab. It would further delay his own production and advancement of technology. So the command centers will be maybe even a little favorable for Clem because this is on location. Starports coming down at a very equal time. Reactors as well, and I guess cyclones. This disturbs the ZombieGrub. I do not like the emphasis on cyclones. Do not. Byun holding on to a 3-worker lead because I guess he killed 2 SCVs when I was groaning about the stupid factory and cyclones and shit. So a 4-worker lead. The orbital is only slightly faster for Clem. Clem's opener not working out. Now he is getting onto the field with a double cyclone medevac drop. Byun also doing the same thing. Just didn't pick up his cyclones. The Reapers just scouted that. Meanwhile, Byun is not aware of his opponent doing the same thing, although it does seem like this is becoming the go-to early game build. Both end up attacking the natural, but it is Clem's medevac. Ooh, gets a little tagged right there. 4 SCVs apiece so far. Medevac for Byun also almost going down. Looks like he already lost one of the cyclones. Perhaps inadvertently going up a ramp into the awaiting arms of Clem's production. So Clem gets a little bit of benefit of the army, but then still overall is down in workers. Byun's medevac is playing a dangerous game. Holy shit. Oh my god. How did that not die? That's still a very injured medevac that won't be able to help out in the micro, but the cyclone in it is alive and well. Clem's own medevac does manage to unload its 2 cyclones, combined together, and now it's a full-on cyclone through cyclone war. The Raven of Clem, however, does have the interference matrix or a couple of auto turrets. Literally just the one that gets gunned down, so not the start that Clem was hoping for there either. Byun is also grabbing a Raven, the interference matrix, continuing to build up his cyclones. Clem's reinforcements not coming in fast enough to overwhelm, so just goes back to the good old drop. Trying to get some damage done. And a couple of SCVs is fine as long as he lives. Doesn't even grab that. Byun being just a little more consistent, it feels like. Although the workers have entirely lined up. Clem also has had the benefit of 2 racks. Not that it's been a huge benefit, but he did save both of them. So now he's going to get his mid-game production set up a little bit better. Both 3rd CCs are on the same time, both in a double Raven, both 8 Cyclones, but then one person is a little quicker to the 3rd, 2nd and 3rd barracks, and perhaps then maybe a little quicker to Stim. Double drop, double Cyclone drop from Byun just as Clem moved out, so that is very, very awkward. Clem is still producing Cyclones, because apparently that's what you do in TvT nowadays, and they will eventually come to recover the scenario, but we do have ourselves a little bit of a base trade going on. Byun not realizing that the entire army had moved to the front lines, now tries to split his army, but it's a little awkward. He is also losing SCVs, both in the natural and the main base, trying to get this attack done with, and instead he actually might still be losing against it. Alright, he is going to push that back. He loses more SCVs, but if he could have won the battle in a straight-up fashion with a 10 army supply lead, 3 more Cyclones, whatever it was, than his opponent, then he could get his own counterattack in. However, that's not going to be the case, not even taking care of this last Cyclone in the medevac. Meanwhile, the medevac of Byun did finally go over the Cyclones of his opponent, and 20 SCVs killed as Byun loses out on the economy, he loses out on the army, and he is losing out on the production. I think his reactors are coming in a little bit later, so... Third CC also delayed and still not being rebuilt. Byun has not realized it, trying to make sure that he's A-okay elsewhere. Now, finally... No, I thought that SCV was going to go on top of it. No, he doesn't realize. No, Byun! No! Well, what should have only been a 20-second loss compared to his opponent now is turning into an almost entire command center. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, ay, ay. 4-worker lead for Clem. 5 army supply. Doesn't sound that dramatic, and it's not, but then there's other things to consider. 1, Clem. 1 upgrades. Already about 20 seconds in. Byun not even able to afford 1-1. Building another command set? Wait, what is even happening? I don't know why the second command center popped up in the direction tab. But anyway, we do have an attack on the front lines. Whoops-a-daisy, but Byun's mostly Cyclone army does not stand up against all those Marines and the auto turrets. And actually, that is going to be a game. The third CC will never complete. And now, what could be the final game of the best of 5 finals. In the top right, up 2-1, he is Liquid Clem. In the bottom left, sending out an SCV, he is Shopify Rebellion's Byun. Byun now going to get some serious revenge. Although, it wasn't the Turax that did him in. It did change his plans, but he changed them accordingly. Like, it was fine. He still had the better opener. He was still ahead by a few SCVs. It was the wacky-dacky Cyclone shenanigans that ended up pronouncing Clem's lead, I guess. And then it was substantially in his lead. Particularly when Clem got the drop in and then the kind of surprising attack as well. Byun was just not expecting that. And splitting the Cyclones appropriately gets really awkward. So regardless, he still wants to show how the kid how it's actually done, how the Turax actually does work. Clem though is factory expanding, so he's already well set up to defend against this. But there is something to be like. You could argue that scouting the Turax is better than factory expanding. Like, obviously doing both is best, but if Clem doesn't scout this and is factory expanding, he could still inadvertently send his Reaper out and then have it killed and then die. So I'm trying to say it's still very important that he does get a scout. And he is. And this is really good on Clem. It's very fortunate that it's also actually when Byun is 2-raxing. Because if it was when Byun was 1-rax expanding or factory expanding, then he just has a little less mining. But it is a perfect time to be the scouter in this game. He even used the second SCV to scout the placement of the 2-rax. And Byun should be having an even worse time than Clem, but it is kind of hard to say. Byun is actually committing to this. So we'll see how the micro goes. Reaper is out. Marine is now out as well. And the target fire on the weakened Reaper of Byun was almost good. Almost got the kill. And so the SCV goes down. Factory's done. Cyclone on the way. And Clem is proxying. But Byun recognized that SCV never left his base. And so goes around checking. A waste of minerals and gas there for Clem. You're kind of sheepishly, you're like, oh, I tried. But that is it. That is done. And that is a bit of a waste for Clem, who now builds a starport back at home. He still has a worker lead, but this is why I'm like, this is still kind of weird. The backstab potential is there for the Reapers of Byun. Clem did lose an SCVL 2, I guess. He will lose 2. This one's still moving around. Factory cancel is kind of a expensive, I guess, or like it's fun. It's not clear cut. So whether that was really worth it for Byun. But for Clem, by deciding not to go into a faster command center, which would have been the 2 paths here, he has instead gone into the fastest starport kind of possible. If it wasn't for the factory cancel. And so he will have some time to be the bully. And that worked out really well last game, him flying with the medevacs. Assuming that he takes care of the Reapers, actually. The Reapers are still a problem. Byun's threatening backstab will ensure that Clem will never have the open area to just move everything across the map, drop Cyclones, Marines, anything. You know, he's always got to worry about that backstab. Something that Clem didn't go for in the last game. And so Clem having this faster medevac, I mean, it's only so helpful. Byun is already on his own Cyclone production and getting a Liberator, actually. Might be emphasizing this kind of, I know that I will defend at home, perhaps even haphazardly, but then maybe I can get a really strong backstab, whether it's with Reapers or a Liberator. I'm kind of liking Byun's position, weirdly enough. I mean, he is up 2 SCVs, so it's not that weird. He is up 2 SCVs, his orbital is faster, and I think his production will cover anything that gets thrown at him, so I don't, you know, it's not weird at all. Byun is actually winning right now. The slight army deficit that he has is just not something that he has to really worry about. Hell, his 5 Reapers can even tackle the 2 Cyclones. Look at that. Now, that did just tell Clem that the Reapers are entirely back at home, but it's still so scary to make that official move out when 5 Reapers could very quickly get on your side of the map again. It's just so scary. But that is eventually Clem's plan. He is going to go for the Cyclone Raven Interference Matrix push, which dominates this matchup now, I guess. Liberator comes in all by its lonesome, you know. There wasn't any sign that Clem would be distracted. There wasn't any secondary attack from Byun. So, seems a little... Byun recognizes, of course, that it would be easily taken care of, so he just tucks it into the corner and does await a better time to use it. Was that the better time? It might have been, because Byun is moving out, so this is why he did it. And it still is kind of weird for the Cyclones to tackle this. 2 SCVs go down, attention is brought to the main base, as opposed to the natural in which Byun is actually pushing. Maybe getting revenge for the last game in this way, but Clem is paying attention. He's got auto turrets to throw down, and while the Raven sacrifices itself, might be for the greater good. With the reinforcing Cyclones from the main base, Clem will be able to hold and maybe even take the fight and even get some revenge himself. That Raven of Byun is going to be hunted down. The Cyclone, at the very least, is. Maybe the Raven will be able to escape, but it is a little sketch. Clem doesn't know what he's actually following up into, so he is going to pull it back. So Byun will have 2 Ravens, Clem will have 1. Both of them still producing Cyclones, as Clem has taken an advantage. I don't know if he'll be able to actually use it. Stim on the way for both parties. Engineering bays around the same time, and 3rd CCs both finish, although Byun's on location. It's that type of day for him, you know? He's just full of confidence. Freaking Cyclones. Byun's still producing them. Stop it! They should both be moving on to tanks, and that is what the swap is for, I believe. Clem's gonna have a slight lead in the factory units. 2 Cyclones going to the main. It's the tale as old as time. It's 3rd time in a row in this game. Here we go. Cyclones in the main. Cyclones on the front. Cyclones up your butt. No, I'm just kidding. Shit, pitch. Cyclone in the main. Gonna be effective. SCV's gonna die. Gonna be pulled away, but Byun, I mean, it's just like, it's a telegraph at this point, you know? Like, clearly there's gonna be an attack at the front. It's just that Clem still is hoping that his outburst of auto turrets will be faster than Byun's, and he's right about that, but the auto turrets only last so long. Nonetheless, they last long enough to help the Cyclones kill a decent bit more SCVs, 14 in total with the main base, which is also alive somehow, tucked into the corner. Clem now with a 6 SCV lead. Also still trying to get some cheeky kills. Scan has to be used. The Cyclones are so much weaker than his opponents that I don't know if he can get anything more. He's gonna get one more. And now he's gonna lose the Cyclone War. Oh, he trades! Oh! Oh! Oh, and that was all of the Cyclones, apparently? No, the 2 were coming over to save the 3rd base. Now realizing they've left the main alone. And this means that Byun has lost any amount of defense, basically. With Clem continuing to rally forward, he will simply overwhelm with numbers. He's overwhelming on the economy at this point, too, but now the army's on the front lines as well. And Clem will be 3-1-ing Byun in today's European Open Cup. They will probably match up again later tonight in the North American one. Unless Clem has an early flight tomorrow, which could be possible. Byun doesn't want to tap out, but he has taken so much damage. Clem's follow-up push might just do the trick, with Byun only having really 1 tank to depend on. His Raven's out of energy, the Cyclones don't matter anymore, and he has such a limited number of Marines. The tank is the only powerful tool right now for Byun. The single tank. Clem happily on 3 base. 9 workers ahead. Starts up his +2 attack. His armor as well. Endless advantages. Decides to go for the attack on the main base, knowing that his opponent will certainly have trouble against multi-pronged attacks. Ooh, thank you, Laser SEQ, for the gifted subs. 10 of them. As Clem is gifted the series. He fought really hard for it, actually. But still, he won the series. 3-1. Clem continues his dominance in the European Open Cup. He has surpassed here Marine's gold medals like a couple of weeks ago at this point, so now it's just about keeping his lead, which apparently he's going to do. And as I said, he might even be playing in the North American one later on.